the serendipity that's trapped in the network that kind of comes out when those ideas are exposed to the world. It's amazing. So if we can get one or two of our talks on the Big TED channel, it'd be a good thing. So,
yeah. All right. So speaking of how you might find out about some of these things, my name's Nally. I've been on Galiano for 25% of my life. I would encourage you to speak in terms of percentages. I run a website here called Active Galiano, and I'll just talk a bit about what Active Galiano is and has done and what I hope it can do. It's a community-driven website. It's free to post and use. It's not a walled garden, so in the web development circles there's this notion of a walled garden like Facebook, where they want you to be clicking further and further Facebook things. Whereas, in the open web, you'll notice that Facebook stuff doesn't show up on Google searches. It's done that way by design because they want their stuff to be internal. Whereas the open web, you want it to be findable and discoverable and shareable beyond the walls of the garden. Active Galiano is also for sale. $3,000 to $5,000. Let's talk, right? But I'm just floating that now because of a later issue that we all should talk about, is the valuation of these things. And I found your conversation about the value of non-tangible things very interesting. I'll have a private discussion with you about some ideas about that. What has Active Galiano done? It provided classified ads to Galiano for free on the web, and for me, classified ads are the low-hanging fruit of local grassroots economy. They're just simple things for sale here and there. They're ways of discovering efficiencies that wouldn't otherwise be discovered. And certainly the print publications have been doing this for a very long time. But there seems to be an order of magnitude higher, like 10 times or more use when it's so immediate. That when you can post something and then have an hour or two later saying, hey, I need that thing, it's really a sweet spot for classified ads. It's something we all understand, but it's like this way of sucking people into the system for me, right? It's value that I provide, but then that I'm able to work with them. Events calendar. So when you're picking which weekend to have your festival on, it's good to have a calendar of records so that you know you're not colliding with somebody else. And these decisions are also made on timescales that are often shorter than the timescales for the print publications. So again, here you have this thing where there are print publication services to community, but the web is starting to go a little quicker. And it's crucial to me that these things are free, because otherwise you'd be putting up a barrier to their being published, and really these things do need to be free. What has Active Galiano done? It's also a tiny toehold in our struggle for against remote ownership of media. So there are a lot of media outlets that aim to sell you yourselves, but they're based in places that are far away. So it's nice to have local control over things like what thing should appear next to the classified ad. That's a very important concept for me, and it's motivated me to build Active Galiano to be the way it is now. What I hope it can do is provide connection. The information network for me is something that's very broad and very general. The rumor mill is included. Bulletins, paper things that get tacked to telephone poles is included. It's all information that's all getting handed around. But what I hope that Active Galiano can do in the future for Galiano is to provide connection into that information framework on the user's own terms. So really it's not about computers when you take that approach. It's how do people want to interact with their information on their own terms? And let's play that. Because for me, the computer is not the purpose in and of itself. The purpose is the information. And however we can use this technology to make those things more efficient and more open, then that's why I use the computer, is to do those things. So I'm now embarking on the process of building a regional version of Active Galiano, because for me that's the next step. We've done a certain amount of good with Active Galiano by itself, and now, and a gathering like this really speaks to this, is that there's a regionalism, there's a component of regionalism that I think we will succeed, again, with this orders of magnitude idea. We're going to find people, birds of a feather, that think the way we do. There may only be 2 or 3 on Galiano, there may only be 2 or 3 on Gabriola and Salt Spring and so on, but by having this type of regional website, we will be able to exchange ideas very quickly and efficiently, and find each other and all of that stuff. And Facebook is doing this, but if you look at the Facebook networks, I have a bunch of friends on Facebook, and they're all from Galiano. So let's share around the friendship networks a little bit wider, and yeah. So maybe a few technical details about ActiveIslands.com. I'm going to be leveraging the lessons that I've learned with Active Galiano and try to make the regional site a little bit better because of things I could have done differently. I'm going to go with 5 content types. Classified ads, because people really find them very useful, and they're very, like I say, the low-hanging fruit of grassroots economy, say. Status updates, like Facebook status updates, Twitter, that sort of stuff. There's going to be a content type on the regional site for that. Calendar listings. Articles, so if you write something a little bit more long form, there'll be a place to find those, separate from the other content types. And then the last one is directory entries, so if you have a company or an organization or whatever, it can go into the directory entry, and it's important to me, like I said before, that this stuff be free. Now there's another thing off to the side of those 5 core pieces of content, and that's people profiles. And this was, in fact, requested by David Howe at the CRD, said, what I really want your system to do is be a directory of passions, interests, and services.
The inventory.
Find the people, right? And so when you're given your username and password, you'll have the opportunity to say, I'm interested in the following things. And this will be like a way that we can discover each other, is through our mutual interests. So, what do I hope this will do, right? I hope it will speed up the adoption of all of the good work that you guys are doing. There's a tremendous amount of effort that's going into it, and the way things are now, we're held back by time scales. And I don't want a flood of stuff. People will self-police over these issues. And they'll say, well, that's not really important for me to say that, but you'd be surprised where the value in what you're saying comes. And that effect that you talked about, that was just talked about now, about when this meeting happened here last year, that in fact, that meeting was on Pender, because you'd gone to the second one, that it energized you for the next 3 months or so, right? Like, I know just from my Active Galiano volunteering that somebody, like, one of the weird ones was somebody posted in the classified ads that they had goat pelts for sale, right? That was like the coolest classified ad I'd had for months, and now I got to work on the classified ad section some more so I can get some more of that good stuff. And for short attention span generation folks, like, it's like it takes a little bit of a lift every now and again to keep you on the right track. So yeah, that's. And by reaching out regionally, I'm going to find sailors who I can crew for in races and stuff like that. That's what I'm in it for. Yeah, the system enables you to discover efficiencies that would not be discoverable by any other means. So, how can this be paid for? Getting back to the point about Active Galiano now being for sale for $3 to $5 grand. So everything is free. Everything is free on this network, right? And so I run into some of the same issues about valuing the stuff that needs to be free, right? And for commodities that you own, there's an established mechanism for determining its monetary value, and it's you hold an auction. So if I have this computer and I put it up for auction, the auction will tell me what the value is, right? But for a poem, just referring back to your presentation, how do you value a poem? Right. So one way you could do it is to write a poem in private and put it on a piece of paper, and then auction it off, and then right, that would set the value of the poem. But it doesn't work, because the value of the thing that you're trying to trade around increases the more people get it, the more people get to possess it and own it. So there's a value, there's a divide there that so I say that they're free, but they gain in value when the more and more people use them and use that as their way of communicating. Say in the publishing world, the more readers you have, the more value your ads end up having. So how to pay for this thing? It's all free, but notifications aren't free. In fact, lots of notifications are free. But if you want to know the classified ad posts that day in your email box, then maybe that's worth $10 a year. Something like that. These are sort of the values that we're throwing around for people to, what is the value add for them? Anyway, my goal is not to get rich off this website. It will never happen. But I do want it to be very widely used and very widely adopted. So I'm writing this, I can put a lot of effort into it, but I'm, trying to figure out how to judge how much it's worth most of it. What I definitely want to engage in a conversation with each and every one of you about what you think the site should be and how it should run. But here's some things that I want. I would love to have your email address and your opt-in to be a part of the website. Especially in its early growth stages, it's nice to have folks who are using it even though it's not really worth your while to put a classified up now because the readership is so low.